Question: how do you think we will see food shortages in the United States? How soon do you think we'll see food short? Well, I mean, to a certain degree, we've already seen food shortages, right? I mean, I was in the United States maybe 2 months ago, and I remember going over right across the street to the Whole Foods, and 10-15% of the shelf space was completely barren. That's kind of a shortage, right? So now, when will it get really, really bad to where I think you're going to see people waiting in line? Actually, food rationing. That's probably, and I think it could come to that, where everything is completely centralized and the government tells you how much food you can buy for the month, how much meat you can eat, and all of these things. We've even seen this technology come out, and this company that's kind of in bed with the World Economic Forum, where they issue a debit card, and it tallies up your transactions for the month and gives you kind of basically a social score, or it's a carbon score. And if you exceed your carbon allocation for the month, then they cut you off. So you can't buy any more gas. You can't buy any more beef, or something along these lines, because the carbon footprint on either of those is just too extreme, so exceeds your allotment for the month. I think that will be proposed probably within the next couple of years. How, I mean, will it stick? I don't know. We'll have to see. It just depends on how bananas things get. But I think you'll start to hear more and more and more about it. I think it'll be like the central bank digital currency was in 2019. Like when I first started talking about that on my YouTube channel, everyone thought I was crazy. And everyone thought I was a conspiracy theorist. But now it's just kind of, everyone knows that's kind of what's coming. You even hear it in the mainstream media. Now, but yet we don't have it yet. So I think that the food rationing will probably take the same path. So I'd say, a couple of years, we're going to really, really, really start hearing about it. And people are going to argue that we have to do it to avoid climate change or climate catastrophe. And if we don't do this now, that, the human race is going to be eradicated by 2050 and, yada, yada, yada. So I think that's going to be the push. Now, there's a lot of variables in there, but we'll have to see how it plays out. But bottom line is I think you're going to hear more and more and more about this. Now, as far as probably more pertaining to your point with the food shortages as a result of a lack of fertilizer, among other things, and energy coming from Russia, and Belarus is another one that's a big supplier of potash. Canada, I think, is the largest supplier. But if you take 35 or 40% offline between Belarus and Russia, you've got big problems, like really big problems. And that's what could lead to the food shortages and therefore rationing. And I think what's going to happen is they'll probably try to do price controls on top of that, which will just make it far, far worse. And it'll be, my concern is that it'll be like the gas lines we saw in the 1970s, but with food. I think that's kind of the direction we're headed here. If this, the invasion continues, or this Russia-Ukraine deal continues into 2023. A lot of people say that, oh, well, Putin's losing. Maybe. I mean, it depends on what his objectives are. If Putin's objectives are to de-dollarize the world or start that process, get that in motion, can you honestly say he's losing? I mean, look what Saudi Arabia is doing with the yuan. Look at what India is doing. Look at the deals that Russia's doing with China as far as settling payments outside of the dollar. I'm not saying that's his objective, but if it is, I don't know that he's losing. And another thing, that I'm highly skeptical with the mainstream media is how they always say that he went in there thinking that this was just going to be like a 3-day operation. And, he was just shocked. And now he's just scrambling around, just kind of flying by the seat of his pants. Maybe, but there again, look at what's happening to the West. Look, I mean, Biden himself came out the other day and stated that, yeah, we're going to have food shortages. And when we apply sanctions, it doesn't just hurt the Russian people. It hurts the West, including the United States. So then the question becomes, whose economy can survive longest? One thing that I'd encourage everyone to do is go to YouTube and watch some of these vlogs. I think I've got, let me see here. I'll show you the specific one I'm referring to. I'm just bear with me, guys, here. I'm going to do a quick screen share again. This one is a vlog that from Russia that I find very helpful. Just because you hear everything in the media, and then when you watch these vlogs, it's kind of like an insider's secret. I don't know of anyone else in the macro space that does this, but it's really helpful because you hear all this stuff in the media, and then you go and look at kind of the boots on the ground intel from Russians that are vlogging, going to the grocery store, going to the mall, and showing you how the sanctions are impacting everyday life. And so let me go over to this here. This is one guy, really, really nice guy, and his wife too. They just had a newborn kid here. But his YouTube channel is Dan Shikos, I think is how you pronounce that. But just as an example, I watched this vlog today that he did on, he just went to the local mall and just kind of walked around, which is exactly what I would do if I was there, just trying to check things out, get a grasp for how the sanctions were impacting kind of the Russian economy there. And just to see and to show you the stores that were open and then the stores that were not open. Because when you hear it in the mainstream media, and I was doing a video on this the other day on the Rebel Capitalist show, like Kevin Leary or Kevin O'Leary, whatever his name is, he was sitting there talking about how all these corporations backing out of Russia is just devastating. And the people aren't even going to be able to survive. It's going to be like living in as a medieval serf or something like that. And they're just going to have all these uprisings against the government, and they're going to assassinate Putin because, and I'm not even kidding you, one of the main examples he used is that Disney and Netflix isn't in Russia anymore. Therefore, they're not going to have access to any Disney cartoons. I'm not kidding you. That was his rationale as to why Russia or the Russians will just, revolt and have some sort of coup against Putin because, I mean, what are they going to do? They don't have any more cartoons. What are they going to possibly do? This was honestly the level of thinking that we're dealing with right now with the mainstream financial media. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. But going back to Dan in this vlog that he did in the mall, you hear in the media that, again, just what Kevin O'Leary was saying, that this is just devastating them. And what are they going to do? McDonald's is backing out of the country. And, oh, my gosh, they don't have Starbucks. And, they're not going to have any goods and services, for heaven's sakes, because we know that Russia's consumer economy is completely driven by U.S. corporations, right? I'm being sarcastic there. So what happens is he just does a walk through the mall, and you can see that it's like a normal, just your everyday mall that you'd have in the United States, probably, like 3 or 4 anchor stores and all these, the food court. You guys know what I'm talking about. And out of the probably 50, maybe more, 70 stores that were in this mall, like 5 or 6 of them were closed. And so, as an example, you had all of these clothing stores that were, I'm assuming, Chinese and Russian brands. They were, of course, all open and all. And then, like 1 out of 10 stores was closed, and it would be like Levi's. But then, right next to it, there'd be like 5 other jean stores or denim stores from companies that weren't from the United States. And then, like Adidas would be closed, and then right next to it there'd be another. I don't know if there are shoe stores next to it, but there's plenty of shoe stores. And so what it dawns on you that the only thing these sanctions are doing is hurting shareholders for these companies, and which is a lot of blue collar workers in the United States, because they own these companies through their pension funds. And then what they're doing is they're just shooting themselves in the foot long term, because it's not like there was no one in the mall. The people are still there in the mall buying stuff. So what are they going to do? They're not going. Levi's is closed, so they're not going to get their jeans there. They're just going to go over to this other company, and the Russian companies are going to take market share. That's all I think is going to happen. So you see this difference between what you hear in the mainstream media and what is really happening boots on the ground. And then you can come to your own conclusions as to the impact these sanctions will or will not have. So anyway, kind of an insider tip right there.